In May of 1951, everything is set for Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz's long-awaited TV show to finally go into production. CBS has a commitment of close to $800,000 from advertising executive Milton Beo and his tobacco client Philip Morris. Lucy and Desi celebrate their coup. Then, a phone call from Milton Beo to Lucy's producer, Jess Oppenheimer, reveals a grave misunderstanding.
He called my father and said, oh, by the way, he said, when are you and the Arnazes moving to New York?
Jess Oppenheimer was like, what? No one had thought that far ahead. They were so excited about the show being picked up.
And my dad said, New York? What are you talking about? Nobody said anything about New York. And Beo said, well, we're doing the show in New York, aren't we?
But Lucy and Desi won't do the show unless it's shot in Los Angeles, and there's no way to broadcast live from LA to New York. If the show originates live from Los Angeles, everyone east of Chicago will see the show on Kinescope, an inferior quality recording of the live broadcast. It's a big problem.
Milton Beo was very, very angry about that because I bought a show that they're going to do live in New York. We're not going to accept a Kinescope, this fuzzy look, for 85% of the country.
They had a deal, all the wheels were in motion, everything was going great, and all of a sudden, boom, no deal.
But while Lucy and Desi would make many concessions to get this show on the air, moving east is not one of them.
She wanted to raise a family in Southern California. She'd moved here from New York, and she wasn't going to move back to New York. That just was out of the question.
Hollywood trade papers broadcast the misunderstanding with front-page headlines. The deal is off if Desi and Lucy won't move to New York. CBS's West Coast head of programming, Harry Ackerman, knows that someone better find a solution.
They had enticed Philip Morris into this deal, so they had to make sure that the deal, was pulled off, or they would have, looked badly to their clients.
May 12th, 1951. Harry Ackerman and the Arnazes meet with the sponsor to hash out a solution. They come up with an option that might save the series, shooting it on film, which is better quality than Kinescope. If the show is filmed, it can be copied each week for both coasts and still look good. Beo is still concerned. There are no other filmed sitcoms on the air. They are all done live. But CBS is already shooting another program on film that will air in the fall, and it looks great.
The Amos and Andy show was in the can, ready to go on the air, and when they screened it, sure enough, it was very good quality, and that convinced Beo. He said, okay, if you can deliver this, we have a deal.
Lucy and Desi can stay in Hollywood, but then another hitch. CBS executives realize that film expenses and unions will cost more, as much as $5,000 more each week.
And Beo said, I'm not going to pay $5,000.
They would not, for a film show, would not pay any more than they were going to pay for a live show. They said, it's not our problem that you can't deliver us a good quality product on the East Coast.
CBS also refuses to cough up the extra $5,000.
They said absolutely not. I mean, it was ridiculous to pay that much money for it.
With Paley's refusal to up the production budget for the show, all negotiations come to a halt. Lucy, Desi, and their agent, Don Sharp, meet to discuss strategy. Sharp suggests that the couple take a $1,000 pay cut out of their weekly salary to help cover the overages. If Lucy and Desi put up some of their own money, CBS and Philip Morris might be willing to make up the difference. Desi concedes to the pay cut, but only if the network will meet a demand of his own.
Desi said, if I'm going to pay money out of my pocket, I want CBS to give me the other 50% of the show.
Sharp is uncertain CBS will agree to Desi's terms, but he knows that William Paley desperately wants a TV hit to beat rival network NBC's Texaco Star Theater with Milton Berle.
Don Sharp went back to CBS with Desi's instructions, saying he had to have it all, and he talked to Martin Leeds in Business Affairs and said, we have to have it. We want 100% of the show. And Leeds said, I can't let you have it.
He was so hard-nosed that he didn't give an inch when it came to spending money.
Sharp went back to Desi, and Desi said, try again. Try someone else.
There is one last hope. William S. Paley, the head of the entire network.
He said to Bill Paley, we can't get Desi and Lucy to agree unless we give them 100% of the show, but they are putting up money.
Paley considers the deal, but counters with a condition of his own. If Desi and Lucy want to own the show, he wants them to produce it, too. The couple will be fully responsible for getting the program cast, shot, and edited. CBS will do nothing more than broadcast the finished product.
CBS surprised everybody. They said, okay, it's your headache. You have to bring this show in on budget, and we don't know why you want to own the negatives. And Desi said, maybe we'll show it to our children or something.
Lucy and Desi agree to the deal. They'll produce the show and own it 100%.
Somebody at CBS blinked quickly, and the deal was made.
Summer 1951. The deal set, Desilu Productions expands into a full-fledged production company. Desi and Lucy have their hands full with finding a studio, hiring an entire production staff, and a baby on the way. July 17th. Lucy gives birth to their long-awaited first child, a daughter named Lucy Desiree Arnez. Less than 2 months later, I Love Lucy launches production at Desilu's new studios in Hollywood, California. Within only 6 months of its premiere, the show captures a record-breaking audience of 10 million homes and goes on to become one of the most popular television shows of all time. While I Love Lucy continues to make people laugh in more than 80 countries, the deal that made it happen offers 3 important business lessons. First, play on your own terms. By refusing to yield to pressure from CBS, Lucy and Desi successfully negotiated a favorable contract that allowed them to realize their vision both financially and creatively.
She called the shots. She did that show exactly the way she wanted it. She had the co-star she wanted, she got the money deal she wanted, and she did it on film in Hollywood the way she wanted it.
For their part, CBS made a crucial error in the negotiations by overlooking a fundamental law of business. Ownership makes the money flow. Because CBS was so focused on the immediate goal of closing the deal, they failed to see the long-term possibilities for the program. And in 1956, CBS was forced to pay Desilu Productions $4.3 million to buy back the rights to all episodes of I Love Lucy.
Owning the product, forgetting what product it is the source of where the money flows.
While no one could have predicted the enormous success of I Love Lucy, Lucy and Desi's willingness to walk away from the show unless they got the deal they wanted illustrates one final rule of business strategy. Big risks equal big rewards.
The great part of the story is when they struck this deal, they're nowhere as players. And like many entrepreneurs who make a big, bold stake, they come from the lowest part and end up rising right up to the top.
In the long term, the I Love Lucy deal was a win-win for both parties involved, but over time, the biggest winner of all had nothing to do with the deal.
The biggest winner was, I think, the American public, because they got to a show that's probably given more laughter and pleasure to more people around the world than any other single piece of entertainment probably in history.